Hi there. Thank you for supporting our incoming students at NCC. I'm just going to take a few minutes to give you a brief overview of what we cover with students in Orientation Part 1. Firstly, you should know that all new students, except for guest visiting students, must complete Orientation Part 1 or OP1, as we lovingly call it, before they can register. Even though guest visiting students are not required to come to a session, many still do choose to attend, and we strongly encourage them to come. So you also know orientation part one is less of an orientation that many of us may remember from our own academic journeys, but it's more onboarding and covering the nuts and bolts of first steps, as you can see here from the agenda. We really decided to go back to basics as we were finding that many students did not know how to access the things that they needed to begin their journey. We ultimately expect a lot of things from our students as they begin with us and throughout their journey here, but we sometimes forget that this is all really foreign to them. So, from the language we use to the expectations that we have, we ultimately are trying our best to do better at being transparent about what they need to do and how they need to do it. So, with OP1, we're setting that framework for them and those expectations for them from the very beginning. These sessions are on a continuous basis. They are online, and depending on the size of the group and the questions that we have, they typically take about an hour to an hour and a half long. There is the main presenter, which is typically Amanda Charlton, who is our orientation program coordinator, Megan Jaklinski, or myself, Morgan Flagg Detweiler. And we always have two assists who answer questions real time in the chat. And this ranges from different faculty, advisors, all sorts of people help out in the chat. So if you are interested in that, please contact Amanda Charlton. We are always in need of help. Students are shared an attendance form, and at the completion of the session, they actually have to fill this attendance form out. And so, what this does is it helps us lift their hold in Workday because they have an orientation hold, but also this enables us to share these slides with them. So, as you can see, we have all clickable links in here. You'll see some screenshots and so much more. This way, students can circle back to any information they need as they complete their steps and register for classes. The beauty of this is that these slides and information, they are sent to whatever email address the student registered for this session with, because we're not sharing anything confidential with them at this point. So we want to make sure that this goes to an accessible email, and so we can hold them accountable. We're telling them this is all the information that you need. You can circle back to it because we're sharing it with you. With that being said, we begin our sessions with FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And this is to really help students understand their rights and responsibilities regarding educational privacy. We liken it to HIPAA and healthcare. We tell them that it governs how their information can be shared. And then we set up this expectation that NCC will only communicate with them directly through our official student email once they are in our system. Okay. We do give them access to these FERPA release forms, and we talk to dual enrollment students about what their special circumstances are because they're still considered minors. So we cover all of that. And this is really to set them up that they need to know they must be using NCC communication channels. And in order to do that, we need to teach them how to log in, how to use our systems. So we do all of that through these slides. We talk to them about how to locate their initial login credentials, reset passwords, how to set up their multi-factor authentication for secure access. And then we talk to them quite a lot about how to access Outlook. And we emphasize that this is the primary method of communication from the college from academic and administrative matters. This is really important because if students tell you that they don't know how to access their email, you can certainly refer them back to their orientation and the slides that were shared with them. So, this is a really effective tool to keep everyone accountable. So we show them how to use NCC Go, which serves as a launch pad to systems like Workday. Obviously you can see Office 365 and their email. It also will, alert them about Brightspace. So once they're registered, they have access to Brightspace. We do spend a bunch of time in Workday. We give them a tour of that because this is a system that can be really intimidating to a lot of our students. And we talk to them about all of the onboarding that they must do. And we do spend some time on placement. A lot of students don't understand that, how transcripts and placement assessments will help them in their courses. We even cover program maps and we give them the link to their program maps to help them understand that these program maps will help them figure out what classes they need to complete their degree or certificate. And it really gives them an overarching view. We also cover prior learning assessment with them. And then we heavily emphasize the academic advisors because this is a critical role. They're going to be the ones that help them register for courses, and that is called orientation part 2 when they go to their advisor. We give students the tools to start exploring course schedules and delivery formats. So we cover all of the academic page in Workday, which is pretty cool. We give them lots of registration, frequently asked questions. We show them what the schedule looks like and what these delivery modes or course modalities mean, in person, hybrid, online, blended. It can get confusing in a lot, but we're giving them lots of heads up about this. We also tell them that once they're registered for courses, students have access to a Brightspace tutorial, and that happens within 48 hours of registration. So they can play around in Brightspace there. They can submit fake assignments and quizzes to their heart's desire, all prior to the semester beginning. So that's a pretty cool tool. And we also give them the direct link, so it usually takes place about 48 hours after they hit register. Ultimately, the real goal here is we want students to leave orientation part 1 feeling empowered and informed. We even cover financial aid and the bursar, banking, scholarships, a lot of next steps. You can see here we give them an information dump about all the other things that may need to do. So these sessions can be a little bit overwhelming for them, but because we're sharing all this information with them thereafter, they are ultimately able to circle back and do this on their own. Once they have the information, and they can ask questions throughout the presentation and also after. Once they are done with orientation part 1, we tell them that they need to move to orientation part 2, which is simply meeting with their advisor to register for classes. These first 2 steps are mandatory for our new students, except guest visiting. But we also are now offering orientation part 3, which are on-campus events that welcome students in. We're really still working behind the scenes to pivot and move this last piece around to garner more attendance and buy-in from our students. So more to come on that. If you would like a copy of these slides and any one-pagers that we share with students just for your own information, or if you want to help support some of your new students, you are welcome to contact the orientation team using orientation@northampton.edu. Either myself or Amanda will gladly share any information so you can help students in their NCC journey. So thank you so much for watching our little video about orientation.